is about the weather, but I just love it. Okay, welcome guys, welcome everyone. It is time for some Monday webinar. We're talking about who has got hotter weather, and I think Arizona wins. Arizona, and I wonder how the weather. So Arizona's got 106. How about what do we have in Dubai? Oh, see, Arizona, of course, so it's the middle of the night in Dubai. I think at 3 a.m. 95 degrees at 3 a.m. So you guys pretty much have Middle Eastern temperatures out there. So try to stay cool, everyone. Don't get too hot. This cold weather mumbo jumbo is, or hot weather is for the birds. But I'll tell you, I will take a hot, sweaty, sunburned day over being cold ever. I just can't even handle it. If the weather gets cold enough that like I need to wear pants, then it's already too cold. I can't do it. I can't do it. So weather. I probably am like half Canadian. I don't even know because I love the weather. I love it. So welcome guys. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope everyone is ready to talk about some crazy markets in trading. For those of you that are new, I am Jared Johnson, and it's a pleasure to be with you. And to clarify, I do wear pants most of the time, but now, of course, Caroline, pants, is that a different definition in Australia? Because pants, you know, that's the long stuff, right? I have to wear shorts, but I guess something, right? Something's good to be wearing, especially when you go outside. It gets a little awkward. But oh man, that is great. So we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. If anybody is wanting to see how we trade a little bit more, this is a preview. I'm not necessarily going to give a lot of really specific trades here. I'm going to give some specifics, but I'm going to give you guys kind of an idea of what I'm looking at this week. And depending on how the week pans out, we'll take these trades or we'll look for completely different things depending on how this week goes. But there will be no surprises, because what I want to tell everybody is kind of what I'm looking at, and if A happens, then we're going to do B, or if C happens, we're going to do D. So we're going to have a couple of scenarios that we can work with. So there's not going to be any, hey, I know I said to buy the euro last week and we totally shorted it, and if anybody bought it, you're all suckers. It's not like that. What it is if a certain level holds, we want to be long euro, for example. If it doesn't, then we want to be short. And so we have some good contingency plans constantly. So if you'd like to get a little more info about that, you can get a free trial at our website. You can trade with us for the entire week for free. daytradersfx.com/join. You can click on that link right there. We'd love to have you. While we're talking about weather, here's the other thing that I'm really interested in is gas prices. Who feels like they have the highest gas prices in the United States? Who's got that? Kayaking, Mel. That's pretty excellent. That's pretty excellent. Let's see. Yeah, it's been a perfect day for it. Average gas price in Orange County, $3.58. That's not too bad. Not too bad. Oh, that's true. Chicago. I heard Chicago got pretty intense on gas prices. Chicago, we'll just say in general, still a little bit below California. California, we're just getting beat up with gas. It's just man, it's expensive. $3.49 in Alaska. Yeah, it's Chicago and California are just getting hammered. Everywhere else is getting way better in the gas situation. So Caroline, I think you guys are 147 a liter, right? 140. This is 347 per gallon. So I think we're still a bit cheaper, but yeah, you guys are actually a little bit up there. So is it more by you, Scott? Is it way more? Is it a good little chunk more? I'm going to be out in Chicago tomorrow. Maybe Scott, we'll have to get together for lunch or something, and you can drive. Yeah, let's see what we have here. What do we have for Houston, Texas? Just out of curiosity. Oh, average. Oh, just a whole entire $1 a gallon cheaper. No problem. No problem. Son of a gun. Yeah, we're getting pretty hammered out here in California. We just have the worst gas. That was my favorite thing I've ever said. We have the worst gas in California. It's just horrible. It's just awful. Yeah, it's crazy expensive. So anyway, just having a look at all that stuff. I've been watching oil and all that stuff. So, oh yes, there we go. Yeah, that's right, Manuel. Yeah, you're down there in Chile or somewhere thereabouts, Peru or something. Uh, that's right, Caroline. That is right. Okay, out there in Chile. Okay, good grief. Yeah, it does get expensive. Okay, guys, let's have a look at what we are up against this this week. We've got quite a bit of news coming out. Anything of major interest. We have a lot of housing numbers for the U.S. coming, building permits, and we've got some New Zealand news, some CPI news, FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday. I mean, those are either going to be just massive or they're going to be like the last several have been, which is nothing. So I don't know. We'll watch that as best we can. We'll see where that all goes, but not planning anything super major there. Going into Thursday, we've got some retail sales for the UK. That's a nice trader. I like that one, so that's worth keeping an eye on. Some Philly Fed Index. We've got some core CPI numbers for Canada. So we've got a little bit of news coming out this week. Couple of things that we're looking at here. The topics that should be on everybody's mind, or at least thereabouts, is I wish there was like a China chart. Like I wish I could just type in China, and then it would just, China is officially up 1%. I guess there's forms of it, but anyway, we're seeing some pretty good movement all over just across the board and everything. Oil is going nuts. We're seeing you can see that U.S. oil, little WTI, West Texas Intermediate, is down quite a bit. Mel, I will talk about that in just a moment, but it's on. I think it's in this section here. I have to double check, or it's in the shapes. It's somewhere on. I think it's in shapes right here. Brush, yeah, triangle. Oh, there's one of them in there. I don't use it very often, so I don't have it off the top of my head, but oil's down a whole bunch. Have you guys heard some of the chatter about oil? Low oil prices are bad. Low oil prices are good. They're going to smash the economy and cause other problems. It's going to be great because consumers are going to feel like everything's cheap and they're going to start buying again. There's a whole bunch of different arguments, and I don't really know what the right answer is, but I do know that oil is creeping up to the $40 mark, and I haven't seen it there in quite a long time. Here we are, 2015. It seems like it was about 2008 or 9, right around there, that we saw these prices. And so it's interesting. I'll tell you, Mel, I have a Land Rover, and 25 cents a gallon would not make me cry because I get pretty darn bad gas mileage already. So so some cheap oil would be nice in that aspect. But yeah, there could be some other economic implications, and that's definitely the interesting thing that we're going to see happen. And there's a big thing kind of forming here. Oil is super low. Everybody's kind of freaked out about China. The question is, how worried should we be about China? What impact is that going to have on the U.S.? At this point, it looks like there's probably a little bit leaning towards the minimal side of impact on the U.S. Um, uh, it makes Chinese exports less expensive. I mean, that's okay for China. U.S. exposure to China. I mean, they own a bazillion dollars in U.S. treasuries, but otherwise, the U.S. doesn't do a lot of trade with China. We have a lot of things manufactured over there, but they're not a major trade partner. In fact, less than 6 or 7% of our international trade is done with China, which represents a smaller portion than about 1% of our GDP. So China at this point is not looking like a huge deal for the U.S. or like it's going to be a major problem, but that could be total crazy talk. It could be the biggest problem ever and cause markets to crash. I don't know. What I do know is China's showing some big signs of movement. Oil is at a crucial level, and then when we go and we look at some of these charts, for example, dollar-related charts, look at the pound dollar. Look what the pound dollar has done for the last almost the last month, just chopping around totally sideways. Look what the euro dollar has done for the last month and a half. Actually, going all the way back here into May, the last couple of months, the euro dollar has been total chop, total garbage. Dollar CAD's been moving. We've seen that move quite a bit in relation to oil. And so that's been pretty intense. But so far, we've seen very minimal movement in the direction of anything. Some of these steady, solid pairs that we count on, like pound dollar, euro dollar, and so on, are just not going anywhere. And this is a big indication. Once again, having oil at a crucial price like it is, having gold make this big move down like it has done. And then having just total sideways activity going on with a lot of U.S. dollar pairs tells me that we've got big movement in the works. We've got some big things happening, and towards the end of this month and the very beginning of next month, over the next couple of weeks, is the time that the biggest movement does happen, and we see some of the biggest activity in the currency markets, and we want to be ready for that. And so what we need to be ready for is when these big breakouts happen, we need to just be in on the action. But the last thing that we want to have happen, the very lastest of last things we want to have happen, is we want to see that we're on the right side of this big breakout that's coming. You can't see something go sideways like this for as long as it has without having massive breakout activity in the works. And so I'm pretty excited about that, and I want to make sure that we're on the right side of all this movement. Now, the good thing is about euro dollar and pound dollar is it's going to be pretty easy to recognize if we're wrong when these breakouts do start to happen. Let's just keep it simple for a moment. There's only a couple of pairs that I really want to look at. Again, oil's going crazy, China's going crazy, gold's going crazy. What is going to happen next with the US dollar and some of these other pairs? They're going to go crazy too. Now, whether it's up or down, there's so many signs and arguments. I'm not even going to postulate which one I think is the best direction at this point. Well, that's not true. I'm going to do that. But I'm really totally open for the dollar majorly selling off or the dollar heading straight up. And we've got a couple of good scenarios for that. Interesting, Dennis. Oil low 30s in 2009. Low 30s, man, that's intense. So here's euro dollar, and at this point, right now, when I don't 100% understand what all the fundamentals are saying, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't 100% understand where what all the implications of oil and China and everything is ultimately going to have on the long-term view of the market. And if anybody says that they do, I'd be pretty leery about believing them, because I don't know if anybody really has a great idea of what is coming. I have been hearing quite a bit that there's a lot of curiosity about China replacing the U.S. dollar, the Chinese currency, with being the new reserve global currency. That seems kind of crazy, to say the least, but that could happen, I guess. Anything could really quite technically happen. There's interesting things happening kind of all over the place. And one thing in particular that I'm looking at is when I don't really understand all of that, I just have to lean towards the technicals. What are the technicals telling us? I always include fundamentals. I always include news. I always include what other markets are doing, but sometimes it gets a little cloudy, and it's gotten cloudy. And we just don't totally know what's going to happen. And so here's what the technicals are telling us on some of these dollar pairs that is pretty interesting. So far, the euro dollar has made this big move down right here. Big move down over the last year. We've talked about this quite a bit. It's run up, and it's made some pretty significant moves above the 23% fib, and the 38% fib sits up here at 118. As much as I want to ignore that and think that that is not a very likely scenario, I have to keep that in mind, that 118 could be hit on euro dollar in the coming couple of months, in the coming several weeks, even potentially. 118 could get just smashed into. It's a possibility. It's an absolute possibility. The technicals are telling us that that is very possible. We have a 200 moving average that is reaching historic levels on the daily chart on the 200, or excuse me, on the euro dollar, that has not been hit. Now the 200 moving average sits at about 113.50-ish or so, just a little bit below that. It's coming down quite a bit, so that may turn out to be just our first kind of intermediate target, 113.50. But I'm at least open to the fact that 118 could happen sooner than later. Now, The scenario where 118 and definitely 113.50 don't happen, the scenario when those two don't happen, is when we get a break of 10800 on euro dollar. Now, all this seems really far away, and like these are really long-term trades, and they're not necessarily long-term trades. These are big, important levels, but we need to be aware of these even if we're looking for a 10 pip trade or a 15 pip trade. We need to be aware of where the important, crucial levels are, so that we can know when the market has shifted, when the tides have shifted. So far, that's what we have. We have 11300, 113.50 on euro dollar is a really, really important area, and then 11800 is a pretty major area. Those are the two upper targets that I'm looking for at this current juncture. Now, if that doesn't hold, a break of 10800 is the changing of the tide. This is where euro dollar is headed to parity, most likely. If it gets below 10800, then I think we're headed down, 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 and down. I don't think it's going to be a little test of 10700, 10650 and come back up. I think we break 10800, and I think it's parity city for euro versus US dollar. So what I'm going to be doing at this point this week, at least thus far, is I'm going to be keeping an eye on this little short-term inverse head and shoulders pattern on the euro dollar. There's our little shoulder and our double bottom and a slash head and then a shoulder. It broke that neckline and it's retraced a whole bunch, and I kind of like getting long euro dollar somewhere around 110 to 110.25, somewhere in that general area. And you can see that it's at 110.75. So a dip of anywhere of 50 to 75 pips, and I would like to buy euro dollar and see where this thing goes. Now, yes, we're going to have probably some decent sized stops on that one, probably 200 pips, because if it can hold above this 10800, then we're in business, and we should see a 300 to 500 pip profit target on that happen. If it doesn't, if it doesn't make a move back up from there, I would probably and possibly get out before 10800. But at this point, it looks like 10800 is our final fail point. There's going to be some shorter term fail points between 110 and 10800, but at least that's kind of our final area where this reverses and starts going the other direction. So as long as we're above 10800, I'm going to be long euro dollar. If it breaks below 10800, I'm going to sell the crud out of this pair and hopefully make 8 or 9 or 1 million pips on it. But I think there's 800 or 900 pips at the break of 10800 on euro dollar. So we're going to be looking for that. But at this point, if it can hold on to 110, give or take, I'll be looking to get long and targeting 11300, 11350, 11800. So that's euro dollar. Any questions about that? Now, whether you like to trade the euro dollar or not, whether you think it's choppy and boring or not, doesn't really matter. What matters is this is a good gauge for US dollar movement. This is a good gauge for dollar movement. And so we need to make sure that we understand what's going on with this pair, because that's going to give us a pretty good feel for what to expect on other dollar pairs. Okay, so that's euro dollar. Pound dollar is a very similar type situation. The pound dollar has been bouncing around 156.50/75 and about 154.50. It's been in a 200 pip channel for a little over a month and just kind of going sideways. Big fail off this level. We actually had a buy on this last week, and it dipped down and it took us out at 1 pip profit, and then it's just continued mashing down ever since. I like pound dollar still. I think pound dollar is a good opportunity to get long. I think that we've got some nice possibilities of reaching some of these bigger upper targets up here. It's coming off some of these big low levels going back years and years. Now, it's got some big lows way back there, but for the most part, we're kind of in that general range where the pound dollar just doesn't seem to go too much lower. 150 is kind of a really strong area for the pound dollar. And so I think we're going to be able to hold on to this one pretty well. If pound dollar breaks that 154.50 and ultimately 154.00 level, then I am short pound dollar. I'm so short pound dollar, it's ridiculous. But if it can hold on to 154.00/154.50, then I am super interested in buying the heck out of the pound dollar and staying long this pair and trading it up into the high 150s. I think we've got a chance of 300 to 500 pips if we can get into this pair with a nice little retracement and get in as close to 154.50 as possible and get some stops below that 154.100 area. Now, I'll be honest. I'm looking at 155.100 as a nice area to get in, and I may even get in as soon as 155.50 on pound dollar. But I'm going to have stops below 154.50 and even below 154.100. So those are going to be the levels that we're looking for on pound dollar. Again, we're using this, and I know a lot of people hate trading the pound dollar too. It's a great pair. It's got some fantastic movement, but it's a little bit of a wild one as well. But this is a great gauge for US dollar movement. And so far, if we can keep euro dollar above 110 and ultimately above 108, and if we can keep pound dollar above about the 154.100 area, then we've got a pretty bearish US dollar picture getting painted there, and I think we're going to see some nice movements in the direction of dollar weakness. However, if those levels start to break, we want to be short. We don't want to be caught trying to buy the dip through 154.50 or 154.100, or buy the dip as the market runs through 108.100 on euro dollar. So we want to make sure that we're recognizing these levels for what they are, which is important levels where the whole direction of everything changes and it flip-flops basically. So those two are going to be very important for that. There's some interesting activity that I'm going to be watching this week on EUROCAD and $CAD. Now we've got all this oil weakness, but for some reason these CAD pairs are just making some record movements, and they're looking like we might have some great possibilities to start getting into some short-term pullback trades. EuroCAD reached the target we've talked about so much, which is 145.100, and it's been bouncing around up there. But it's getting pretty overbought. The EuroCAD has run, and it hasn't touched the 200 moving average in quite some time, and it's starting to get fairly overextended. And so I think we've got some nice opportunities to start shorting EuroCAD along with some others as we get through some of these areas here. And as everything kind of just holds on, we've got some little patterns forming, some things happening here. So around the 145/146 area, I'm going to be looking for some opportunities to take as low risk as possible trades to short EuroCAD and trade it down into the 14200 zone, where we have our 200 moving average and our monthly pivot and all of that good stuff. So I think we've got a good opportunity. We've got a fairly overextended 4-hour chart, and that definitely can't and will not go on forever. In fact, I think we're going to see some nice continuation back towards those moving averages a little bit sooner than later. The other one I'm loving is $CAD. $CAD seems like a crazy opportunity to be shorting at this point, but the 4-hour chart is looking so great that I really can't ignore it. It's gone quite a bit further than the 4-hour chart usually goes away from the 200 moving average. We had a nice rising wedge that broke out, and it kind of retested, and it seems to just continually make lower highs, and I think we've got a nice opportunity to trade $CAD down into kind of the 12900 area, which I think would be great. It's only a couple hundred pips, but I think we've got a good chance to trade it down into that zone, and then from there we're going to kind of reassess. So at this point I'm looking for opportunities to short rallies on EuroCAD and $CAD, and I'm looking to buy dips on euro dollar and pound dollar. And those pairs should keep us pretty interested and pretty occupied this week. We've got some nice setups fairly well across the board on those ones. The rest of these guys are looking pretty boring to me, to be honest. I don't really see anything that I'm super interested in getting into on really any of these other pairs for the moment. I'm definitely keeping an eye on all of them, but I don't think there's any amazing setups really anywhere else that I've looked at so far. And so I'm just kind of weighing out the options there and trying to ride out some of this wild activity. And we'll see. We have some New Zealand news. Remember this week, We have some New Zealand news coming out. We do have interesting things happening on Euro New Zealand and Pound New Zealand, not pairs we trade super often, but they've definitely got some interesting charts, and so we want to keep an eye on those. 4-hour charts are looking really, really good on Euro New Zealand, and they're looking pretty darn good on Pound New Zealand. So that is what we're going to be looking for there. So we have some good stuff in the works. We'll see how it all goes. Oren, that's a very good question. Won't low oil prices keep the CAD down? And yes, and it has. And it still doesn't change the fact that we have kind of a really interesting setup on both of those pairs, and we've seen the CAD rally against both the U.S. dollar and the pound, or excuse me, the euro. In these kind of aggressive spurts. We're definitely not looking for any kind of long-term, get long Canadian dollar. Definitely not that. But we're looking to trade these corrections, and the corrections are happening, fairly aggressively. And when they do, they go pretty nicely. You can see that the EUROCAD just today, ran off the highs, 130, 140 pips. Dollar CAD made some decent corrections as well today. And these are nice little 100 to 150 pip runs that we can grab on the way back to kind of correcting into the 200 moving average for both those pairs. So definitely not looking for a long-term move, but I think we can get 1 or 2 day trades out of those that are gonna give us some nice activity there. So with the coming New Zealand news, we'll keep an eye on Euro New Zealand and Pound New Zealand. And then with everything else, we're watching Euro Dollar for these important levels. I want to buy dips on Euro Dollar. I want to buy dips on Pound Dollar. I want to short some rallies on EuroCAD and Dollar CAD. I think they're going to give us some nice little trading opportunities this week. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. We'll see where it all goes. And hopefully we'll have some nice pips out of them, and I think we will. It's going to be good. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll post some charts and I'll send some things out as the week goes on about how those trades are looking. But if you want to see how we're actually trading them and where we're actually taking entries, go to daytradersfx.com and just jump on a free trial and join us in the live trading group this week and see what you think. We'd love to have you questions, comments. I'm right here. I'm happy to answer anything or chat about anything, and I will get this video posted and sent out to everybody. Thanks for joining us, guys. Very nice to see you and be with you, and hope you guys have a really profitable week trading. Thanks, everyone.